Yeah. Maybe a more poignant example might be that, oh, Bill at the office said something and it really, really bothered me. He took credit for my work, or he said something and it insulted me, or whatever it is, it hit a nerve, which of course means it poked the pain body.
Yeah.
And that's just going to sort of sit with you all day. It'll sit with you forever. It'll just deposit itself. And that is that interruption of the computation until you go, wait a minute, I am really bothered by this. And you accept it. You integrate it. And that's okay. It's okay to be bothered by this. And that's the beginning of releasing that.
Yeah. So in this case, this is an immediate example of non-computation. But actually what it will do is it will bother you, but you will never actually realize the reason why it's bothering you is because it's not computing, right? It will bother you, in fact, because it is not computing. But if you're not understanding this podcast, or if you're trying to figure out, this is what happened. The system, right? I'll use myself as an example, right? I felt unsafe as a child, right? Growing up, my primary form of non-computation, or primary form of distress, was feeling of unsafety. I didn't feel like there was people around me who could protect me. I didn't feel like the country was safe. I didn't feel like we would ever have food. I didn't feel comfortable about the shelter through certain points of my life before 7. And so at all points, what I couldn't compute as a child, because I was too young to understand, was that I do not feel safe. But because, again, I was too young to understand the distress that I was feeling, I wasn't able to run the computation, right? I was not able to compute, look, you're feeling like shit and you don't know how. Your system is completely overwhelmed. You're constantly in a fugue state. I'm right here, right? Let's say this is X, right? What I'm feeling was like, oh, look, I'm unsafe. I'm in a fugue. As a child, the only thing that I know is I'm in a fugue state, right? Because you can't comprehend the amount of emotions of X. The X is here, of Y and Z and B and A and C and whatever. I don't know if I just repeated some letters or not, because I don't know if it's computing. But, right, the fugue state is over here and it's defined as an X. And then the formula over here is all the components that I actually cannot identify because I'm below age of comprehension of emotional scales or even understanding of how the world works. And then therefore the X equals to clusterfuck of shit as far as I'm concerned right now, right?
Yeah.
As a child, you're not able to compute, oh, well, guess what? Leaves are green and orange and they're green, but when the fall comes, the sugar gets sucked out of them into the tree. So therefore, plus sugar equals
minus sugar.
Sure. Minus sugar equals to the sugar is sucked back into the tree. Therefore, there's a variant that comes in to where it goes from green to orange to brown.
Right.
And therefore, that's all okay, right? I'm running that computation out based on logic and understanding and wisdom of an adult. And then therefore, X equals Y plus Z plus B, which is leaves turning brown into sugar or into X, right? But as a child, you don't have the wits or the know-how to run that computer sequencing. And so everything in our life that is trauma as a child basically terminates at non-computation. So we have all of these traumas stuck within us where X equals fuck. Let's just say that. This whole thing is clusterfuck of shit and I don't even know. And we deposit all of those before age of 7 into our lower chakras, into our root, our sacrum, and our solar plexus, and it's stuck there as non-computing sequencing. Period. the rest of our life, past 7, is spent as holding these non-computing sequencing, propagating them into the idea that these are the fear points that you have to mitigate in your life.
By mitigate, it means avoid. Avoid anything that's like this or feels like this or reminds me of this or is associated with the people who are associated with this.
You're trying to mitigate the X because you were not able to process
this situation
X.
felt bad. Let's avoid anything that's vaguely in the neighborhood of that situation.
Yes. So because you did not compute the sequencing and you were not able to run the computation as a child, they're now stuck non-processed frames. They're just like pieces, I don't know if this would work, but they're like chunks of software just sit there that in no way actually are able to be inserted into the whole software system to where the system runs. They're just these leftovers, right? And you're sitting all of your life until you recognize this as an adult with these leftovers at the forefront of your thought. This is what I want to say. They're always at the forefront of your thought. But because you have not integrated them into the computing sequence, you are always trying to mitigate any touching of the current world scenario of those non-computing chunks.
Yeah, you're trying to craft your experience, your reality.
To avoid touching the X's because you never integrated them into the formula of computation.